July 28, 2014 meeting of the Planning and Economic Development Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Ansello? Here. Mr. Baroth? Here. Mr. Daniele? Here. Chairman Howland?
Here.
Mr. Morelli?
Here. Okay, we start this evening with a public hearing, so welcome to the Monroe County Planning and Economic Development Committee. Public hearing to approve and adopt proposed additions to the Monroe County Midwestern Agricultural District Number 1, the Monroe County Northwestern Agricultural District Number 5, and the Monroe County Eastern Agricultural District Number 6, the districts. The public hearing is being held to give the public an opportunity to comment on 1, the proposed additions to the districts, and 2, the recommendations of the Monroe County Agricultural and Farmland Protection Board. I hope you've signed in at the door. If not, please do so before you leave. The July 28, 2014 public hearing before the Monroe County Planning and Economic Development Committee will now come to order. This public hearing is part of the regular Planning and Economic Development Committee meeting. Article 25AA of the New York State Agriculture and Markets Law allows the county legislature to create agricultural districts. The law then requires the legislature to review each district 8 years after its creation and every 8 years thereafter to see if it is achieving its intended purpose, which is to help conserve and encourage the use of agricultural land for the production of agricultural products. In 2002 and 2003, the New York State Legislature adopted changes to the agricultural market laws that enables property owners to petition for adding lands to an established agricultural district at a time designated by the county legislature. Previous to this change, property owners wishing to add lands to an agricultural district had to wait until the established 8-year anniversary date to petition the county legislature for action. A public hearing must be held prior to the legislature resolving to add parcels to the agricultural districts. The purpose of the public hearing is to give the public an opportunity to comment on the proposed additions. Mr. Grant, has the public hearing been advertised and the affected parties been notified?
A mailing regarding this public hearing was sent to the supervisors, clerks, and landowners of the affected towns and the Commissioner of Agriculture and Markets on July 11th, 2014. Also, an affidavit of publication and posting of hearing notice in the Daily Record and Rochester Business Journal on July 18, 2014 has been received and is on file in the clerk's office.
Following the public hearing, the Planning and Economic Development Committee will take action and make recommendation to the Monroe County Legislature for action at its next meeting, which is scheduled for 6 p.m. on Tuesday, August 12, 2014. We will now hear public comments regarding the proposed additions to 3 agricultural districts from the audience. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the committee on this subject? There being no one, I declare this public hearing closed. As stated previously, the Planning and Economic Development Committee will take action on this matter, and it will come before the full legislature on August 12, 2014 meeting. Following its adoption, a report and revised district map will be submitted to the New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets. Mr. Clerk, is there anyone signed up for the public forum this evening?
There is not.
Is there anyone present who is not signed up to speak who would like to address the committee at this time? We'll proceed to approval of the minutes. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Excuse me. You have the June 23rd, 2014 minutes before you. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. The next item on the business or an agenda is new business. Mr. Clerk?
Referral 14-206, authorized additions.
Moved by Legislator Ansello, seconded by Legislator Daniele. Is there any discussion? This is 1423, isn't it?
This is 206.
Okay. Okay, there being no further discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? There being no opposition, the resolution passes.
Referral 14-223 to authorize the county executive.
Moved by Legislator Broth, seconded by Legislator Morelli. I see Legislator Rivera is in the audience, and she is the one that has moved this forward, so I'll give her an opportunity to explain what she'd like to do.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The parking situation at the county's Department of Human Service building at 691 St. Paul Boulevard is currently inefficient for both staff and clients. The citizens who visit this building are often seeking government aid, including Medicaid, food stamps, child care subsidies, and other social care that the county provides. And this already difficult task is worsened by the parking situation. Nearly 1,700 people seek help at this location daily, and many struggle to find parking or fear that their cars may be towed while inside pursuing government aid. The people seeking government aid are already strained financially, and car tickets or towing only serve to worsen their problem. It is the county's duty to search for solutions to this problem so that citizens seeking aid can successfully visit a government building without undue difficulty or repercussions. This is why I propose that the county initiate a study to address the parking situation at the DHS building. This study will include an investigation of the parking needs for employees and consumers, as well as the ticketing and towing of vehicles. Thank you.
Is there any discussion? Legislator Baroff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I actually have a question. Through the chair of the administration, it was mentioned at one point that this issue had been looked at, quote, for years. And my question is, are there any reports or analysis in the possession of the administration currently regarding the parking situation or other issues at the DHS building under question?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure I'm familiar with what statement you're talking about.
Well, through the chair of the administration, I suspect the statement itself is not terribly important, but it was a statement by the spokesperson for the county administration. But the question is more important, I think, which is, does the administration possess any reports or analysis of parking at the DHS building?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I will look into that, and if we have any such reports, we'll make them available to members of the committee.
Thank you. And through the chair of the administration, as a quick follow-up, do you have a timeline when that might be done by?
I would think it would be reasonable to have that by the next committee cycle.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Legislator Daniele.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, through you to Legislator Rivera, the maker of the motion. Legislator Rivera, do we know who owns this building at 691?
Through the chair, I'm assuming it's leased through the county, but I'm not positive.
Through the chair to the administration, does the administration know who, does the county own the building?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, this is a leased property.
It is a leased property. And through the chair to the maker of the motion, do we know approximately how many parking spots there are currently at this building?
Through the chair, I'm not positive of that number.
And through the chair to the administration, do we have a rough estimate of how many parking spots there are available?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I could only speculate. I remember seeing a number in news account of it, but I don't know, and I will get you that information provided to committee members by the next committee meeting.
And through the chair to, I guess, either the maker of the motion or the administration, I remember in taking a tour with a bunch of other legislators not so long ago, there was discussion about a program where the Department of Human Services had a program with the bus services, perhaps, to give free transportation to those who were going back and forth to this building. Is that still in place, and is that correct information that I'm recalling?
Through the chair, that, as far as I know, that is correct.
So at this time, recipients or people that are using the facility do have access to free bus transportation through Rochester, through RTS, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. I also know that at one point or another, there was talk about adding bike lanes in the vicinity of the building to make it more pedestrian and bicycle friendly in that area. And I do remember when we did the tour that they were adding and had already added some bike lanes. Is that correct?
Through the chair, yes.
All right. And to the maker of the motion, have you or your staff done any research or have any suggestions based on your initial look at the situation on what you believe would be some possible solutions to the problem?
Through the chair, that's the whole purpose of the study, is to really come up with as many solutions possible. I mean, I think that anyone who's visited the DHS building can see that there's insufficient parking space. People are touring the parking lot finding spaces. So hopefully through the study we would find alternatives of how to either expand the parking space, find more alternative parking spaces. I'm not sure, but the hope is that the study would propose all the possible alternatives.
Thank you. And through the chair to the maker of the motion, one of the most important things in any plan is a cost analysis. And I did notice in here that, without quoting exact words, but it didn't really give a specific amount or parameter on what to spend. It spoke of accessing, I believe, Capital Fund 1631 is referred to in there. Does the maker of the motion know what traditionally that fund is used for?
Through the chair, no.
I looked, and through the chair, typically that fund is used to make electrical upgrades, planning for storm sewer upgrades, more real infrastructure and capital improvements to the building and the surrounding area for the upkeep of the building, and typically not for a use like a study, but not to say that it couldn't be. And does the maker of the motion have a ballpark figure of how much would be anticipated spending on this study?
Through the chair, no, I don't have a ballpark figure. That would absolutely be up to the county executive.
Okay. For our discussion today, it does appear that Legislator Referro's referral would spend money on a parking study. And again, having visited the site and having the knowledge that we do lease this building, it is not a county-owned building. I do know it sits between several large buildings, a river. I know I have spoken to some of the staff and the administration regarding this issue in the past, as have some of other colleagues on both sides of the aisle, and it really does not seem like that there is an obvious solution in this building that we do not own. And although I appreciate the sentiment of the legislator's referral in trying to find a solution, unfortunately it does seem like something that the answers are pretty much right there. You have a landlocked facility that does not have room to grow, and certainly not in a county-owned facility that we'd want to spend a ton of money improving. So for that purpose, at this point, I do not feel it would be a prudent use of taxpayer dollars to promote this study, and I will be voting no.
Any further discussion? Legislator Morelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the administration, since the county leases this building, has there ever been discussion with the landlord about the parking situation, and if there's an option to increase the number of parking spots available both for clients and for staff?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, Yes, I believe that there have been discussions about how to maximize the utility of the available space with the landlord in the past to gain the greatest efficiency for both the employees who work there and the visitors. As I referenced before in the previous question from Legislator Baroff, as far as any type of written report indicating suggested modifications that still may be pending or been put forward, bring those to the members of the committee at the next meeting.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, to explain my vote, I think I understand where Legislator Daniele is coming from in how we use taxpayer money. I think it's certainly a great point, being that the fund we would take this money from is for infrastructure. I think this is an infrastructure project, so I think it makes sense to use it from this fund. Most importantly, I think the important part is that the people who are often going to this building are facing some difficulties in their personal lives and trying to take care of their children and themselves. And we, being elected officials on behalf of the people, should certainly think about how to make their lives a little simpler when they're going through some difficult times. So I think that simply asking for a study to be done on how we could help increase parking, and I think not only for the clients or for our constituents, certainly for the staff members who are there day in and day out and who do an amazing job, we should certainly think a little further and act a little further in providing them sufficient parking. So I'm going to be voting in favor of this tonight, certainly because I think it's a good use of our tax dollars to look into it. And then after we see a report, then we could determine what's best. And I think it would certainly help the county executive be able to better make a determination on what needs to be done. I simply think that the answer being, well, we just don't have a good solution is not really what we should be doing. We should be thinking outside the box and coming up with new ideas like Legislator Rivera suggested. So simply not doing anything I don't think makes a whole lot of sense. So I will be voting in favor of this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Is there any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed? No. Would you like to do a roll call vote? We can do a roll call vote. Okay.
Mr. Ansello? No. Mr. Baroff? No. Mr. Daniele? No. Chairman Holland?
No.
Mr. Morelli? Yes. 2 to 3, referral fails.
Referral fails. Okay. Are there any other matters to come before the committee? There being no other matters, the July 28, 2014 meeting of the Planning and Economic Development Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Planning and Economic Development Committee will be on Monday, August 18, 2014, 5 p.m.